you don't really know who you are or what you are until you put a really big challenge in front of you.
Fear is an asset and ally here to help you be magnificent.
This crazy, silly, stupid idea to run across the Sahara Desert.
You did make it this time, but you said if you didn't make it, you would try again and again.
Everybody's connected to nature, connected to music, to their families, and now we're going to build a world that doesn't have racism and war and starving kids.
I kept telling myself, run at me, and just keep smiling.
All right, 1, 2, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go.
How's it going?
How's it going? You really are walking, huh?
Hey, man.
Your audio is pretty decent. You have a lav connected there?
Nope. Just doing it on my speakerphone.
There you go.
You know what? You know, there's no rules anymore. No rules. We're just rolling with it.
Nice.
How are you, first of all? By the way, I'm recording now.
Oh, perfect. That's ideal. You getting video too?
Yeah. See that?
So people can watch you walk around?
Yeah, so this has opened up a whole new avenue for me with like the video podcasts now that I never had before.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing video too, in addition to our podcast, because it gives that extra bit of content. Some of our repurposed podcasts have been doing pretty well on YouTube, so not a bad idea.
With that face, you got to be doing video. I mean,
this guy with a face like that, you should be doing radio.
How are you?
No, we've been crushing it on YouTube recently. I'm doing well. Family's doing all right. It's real tough running, your day-to-day, and then plus the childcare situation. We got 2 kids, and it's a lot. You feel like there's like a constant soundtrack. Anyone who doesn't have kids, I want you in the background to play a crying child that oscillates at varying volume that coincides with when you need it to be quiet.
I know.
To that end, I've got 2 kids sleeping right now, which is obviously a tenuous situation.
Right. Well, is Megan home?
Yeah, but she's also working too, right? She's on conference call, so we're like playing hot potato with the children.
I have no doubt. Yeah, I'm fortunate. My parents have an apartment that's close to where I live, so I go there to work. So, because otherwise I'm in the apartment with like Max.
Yeah.
And he's crazy.
No, it doesn't scale. It's like,
no,
what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
First day I did work from home, he popped into my video chat with no pants on to tell everybody that he peed on the potty himself.
Well, that's pretty good. That's worthy of announcement.
But anyway, you look good.
Thanks, buddy.
And it's nice to see you. And I wanted to do this podcast. So obviously, you're probably like the smartest person I know when it comes to charity stuff.
Oh, thanks,
and so our members don't work at charities, right? Well, some of our members work at charities, and some of the people listening to this might work at charities. But I wanted to, kind of share your perspective with our members, who obviously care a lot about charities and support charities. If what are the charities that you are working with, kind of going through right now? How is this virus affecting them, and how are they adapting what they do so that they can continue to fulfill their missions? And maybe that perspective could be interesting and helpful for our members who want to obviously support those charities that they care about.
Yeah, I mean, if you were waiting for an opportune moment to support a charity you care about, stop holding your breath. Let me start at the 30,000-foot view. There was an infographic put out by the New York Times, and it'll be followed up recently, of how post-COVID spending has been occurring. And obviously things like, e-goods and grocery stuff have all been on the rise, while things like, going to movies and giving to charity have been on the decline, trending close to a 50% delta in terms of a negative swing. So there is a contraction happening. And
there's a contraction of people giving to charity, 50%, you said?
Macro. It's trending toward that number. It's probably about 40%. The infograpic's getting updated. I'm not sure the source of data, but it also pairs with I'd say we have about, let's call it 25 clients right now. There's not a single one that pretty much hasn't had to cancel some form of fundraiser. the in-person fundraising game, and also a lot of the peer-to-peer sort of big charity runs, which many of you do, and bike, the chances that you're listening to this and be like, oh yeah, that thing that did get canceled, and to you it's like, okay, I don't have to wake up on a Sunday, and to the like humane animal local shelter, it's like, well, that was our budget for half the year gone, right? So we have a lot of fundraising anchors and pillars being cut out by surprise, and so there's going to be a lag effect of this. So that's one macro piece I'm seeing. And by the way, the second shoe is going to drop when we get to the fall and people realize that we're still not allowed to congregate in groups of 100 or more, or, you know, talk to your doctor, talk to your governor. Results may vary situation, but it's going to hit again. And anybody who's like planning into the future has got to have that seed in your mind, because you were caught unprepared in the spring. Like, I feel terrible. There are wonderful groups. Art in Action, for instance, that has an amazing gala that they put together, raise, you know, a significant part of their budget, frankly, gone. They didn't have more than a week to react. You're sitting there right now hoping for the best. But if you are not planning for the worst case scenario, and in this case, the most likely scenario that your fall fundraiser is not going to be able to occur, what are you doing right now to prepare for that? So that's one piece. I could kind of walk through some other tactics, but I want to pause there.
Right. Yeah, well, for like the people who, like, I think that's a really good, important point. There's certainly a lot of things that I think could be helpful for our charity partners to hear from you. Oh, baby crying. Baby crying.
That's all right. I closed the door. It'll solve itself. For the people who are.
So, you know, for the people who are listening, some of them might be working at charities, and certainly they need to prepare. And I'd love to actually get some of your insights on that. But for the people who don't work at charities, I think it's really important what you said, which is, you know, that your charity that you love and support, yeah, you might not be able to go to the walk that you were supposed to go to. You're not able to go to the Parkinson's Unity Walk in Central Park anymore, or the Walk for Your Humane Society. And that's somewhat of a big deal. You know, if you were not able to run the Boston Marathon for them anymore, like, that's a big deal for you. It's a huge deal for the charity. It's a huge deal. Like, they're losing a lot of potential revenue. And, you know, so like you said, if you are going to make a donation to your charity this year, make it now, right? Like, this is a time that they really need your support. And
well, I go one step beyond, right? Like, so right now, many of you, statistically speaking, can't write a big check. But what you could do is say, you know what? I haven't had to pay for lunch for the past, I don't know, quarantine. How much do you normally spend? $12.50 on that?
Right.
What if you were just take one of those days of your lunch and just say, you know what? There's a nonprofit who I care deeply about. I'm going to become a monthly, like the monthly donations.
Yeah. Yep.
That is it. Like, if you can become a sustainer, and they're like, all right, because that's actually giving them predictable future runway.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Do that. Take one lunch and be like, you know what I love? I love my local, you know, symphony orchestra. Like, do that. Or I love that museum. Like, go and do that.
That's a great point. You and I have spoken about monthly giving before, and how I really think that the future of all charity stuff should be in monthly giving. Become a monthly giver. Like, if you can say, like, right now, instead of I'm going to make a $20 donation, I'm going to make a $20 donation every month. You know what? Even if you're hurting right now financially, like, make it $5. Whatever it is, you can do something. And if you can do it on a monthly basis, it's going to make a huge impact for your charity. Now is the time. And, you know, I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here with the Charity Miles community, because I think they probably get that, you know, but I think it still is worth saying for people out there. This is our time to shine. We got to step up. What are some of the ways that you've seen your charities adapt, the charities that you work with adapt in this moment? Like you said, you know, some charities had a week, you know, a minute to adapt. What are they doing to adapt?
Well, a big one falls around the idea of COVID-adjacent communication. You're taking a crisis that is top of mind, that is poignant and of the moment, You're taking that crisis and saying, what does that overlap with the people we serve, the way we work, and the issues that are associated with our cause, right? So in this COVID adjacent communication, you're taking whatever campaign you were planning or creating a campaign and saying, this is why vulnerable populations that we work with are suffering disproportionately. For instance, if you happen to be a nonprofit that works with brown or black people or people of a minority, well, they happen to be dying at twice the rate of their Caucasian counterparts. It strikes me that that is disproportionate effect. What are you doing that is COVID adjacent, and how do you rally that communication and your supporters to say, this is the why now in this moment type of piece? If you're dealing with, many causes, what we see is that type of COVID adjacent type of communication and campaigns starting to be created and pushed out there.
But I mean, you raise a good point, like, different minorities are affected disproportionately. And to some extent, like, a lot of charities can say that they are, serving a population that is more vulnerable. I mean, because this obviously affects people with different health conditions, right? So if you're in the cancer community, that community is more vulnerable. If you're, like, we just started working with the Muscular Dystrophy Association, that community is more vulnerable to COVID. Economic factors, economically people are more vulnerable. But let's take something like the arts, which you mentioned. That might not be more vulnerable, but what would their COVID adjacent communication be?
You have brought up the number one reason why the arts are like last to know, first to go in school funding and all those things, because it's so hard to make this sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs argument in that, sorry, we're handing off baby monitors.
Hey, Megan!
That's Megan.
You get her on the podcast.
So for the artsy frame, absolutely. I mean, at One Love Foundation, they're amazing right now. They've moved all of their trainings digitally and are running nonstop sort of like weekly webinars to help people understand relationship health and what the signals are of unhealthy relationships, training young people online, because that's where they are. They used to be all about in person. They like overnight flip the switch, and she's actually leading that program. So, if you want an actual good interview, go talk to her. But I don't want to dodge the arts thing. If I were an arts organization, I would be going to my high net worth donors. I'd be going to my supporters and talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, going back to raw needs and saying, it's actually, when we are talking about food and shelter, it is in that moment where we need our highest order of work and thinking, and not to forget the arts, because it is what, connects us as humans. I would also consider a campaign that potentially leveraged arts and music to bring relief in a sort of, here's a moment that brings us together, inspiring piece. Similar to what we just, witnessed on friggin' Monday, I happen to notice a good number of artists coming together and that global citizen effort, right? Yeah. What did we use? We use the arts. And so say, guess what? Every one of those musicians and artists came through. They came through a program like ours.
Yep.
So I would try in that sense to do something there, but you'd have to use a touch more creativity. But fortunately, you work at an arts institution or organization, so there's got to be somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so much great art lately. I mean, in a way, this could be very challenging financially, obviously for everybody, and financially for all these charities, and financially for the art charities. But this is like, I feel like this is their time to shine too. Like, if there was ever a moment that, art was being used, like my whole Facebook feed is different, groups singing from around the country, mashup singing stuff, different Broadway, people reenacting Broadway plays on their Zooms with people. Like, people are getting so creative right now. What a great moment for art. And maybe just to like put that in action, I hope that it, even if it doesn't financially result in something at the moment, that it results in, just deepening that engagement and that connection with the people that you serve.
Yeah, undeniably, it will be the medium that many people use. But again, arts organizations are just getting crushed in this. The other thing that happens in times of crisis, namely, let's call it national disasters, is a consolidation of giving. So while total giving may remain constant, during disasters, hurricanes, pieces like that, you have tentpole organizations doing disproportionately better than their peers. Think Red Cross, think UNICEF, think those disaster response organizations that end up being like, oh, the text so-and-so, you texted the Red Cross and gave money during Haiti, right? And so what happens is the total amount of gift out there for U.S. giving will still be at a number, but the distribution is going to fall along a more aggressive power law, meaning instead of saying 20% of the organizations get 80% of it, it is going to be closer to 95% of the wealth, money, donations end up toward the 5%. So there's a consolidation, especially around national disasters, and this I'd say qualifies at a high order of magnitude on that. So you see our focus on healthcare workers and health organizations and folks looking for cures, but groups like dealing with breast cancer or prostate cancer, which actually are going to be disproportionately affected because of the fact that people aren't getting tested as high a rate, and they aren't the sort of the focus of disease, and every bit of research is actually kind of paused and turned toward this. Like,
Right.
There's a bill to be paid there.
Yeah, I mean, people haven't stopped getting cancer, unfortunately, and like COVID did not cure cancer. And
it cured us talking about it.
It hasn't cured Parkinson's disease. It hasn't, ended all of our other problems. And by the way, actually, here's one positive. I saw that you posted on LinkedIn today. Earth Day is today.
I had to post something positive.
Earth Day is today, and today's like the best Earth Day in history. Right?
This is without a doubt the best Earth Day since it began in 1970, statistically speaking, because we are not flying, we are not driving. Oil prices are rock bottom because it's not being used, among other factors, and carbon emissions are set this year, projected to drop by about 6%. So happy Earth Day. I feel like the Earth is kind of giving us a middle finger right now, being like, if you won't do it, I will make you do it.
But that's worth like looking on the positive, because like all of the things that our charities are raising money for, right? I feel like this is a gut check for us to change the way that we are actually living, which I think would, if we actually take that gut check seriously and do change the way that we're living, we'll have much more of an impact on all of the things that we are raising money for. I see more people out walking now than ever. When I go on my run in the morning in the river, there are more people out than ever before. There's more people walking now. If that continues, I mean, that's, the number one thing that you can do to decrease your risk of just about every major disease is walk more. Eat healthy, walk more. The number one thing that we can all do for our planet is, stop using so much damn energy. It's not, giving money to charity is great, but we just need to reduce the amount of energy that we use. And if we can kind of get used to using less energy like this, and maybe make that part of our new normal, hopefully when we emerge, that would be great. I'm sure that's wishful thinking, but I hope that we do come out of this on the other side with some better actual behavior that'll make a bigger impact on all the things that we want to make an impact on. Anyway, that's my soapbox.
Something that supports that thought is if you look at the sort of greatest generation and Depression era parents, their frugality stayed with them for a generation and carried over. Our parents' talk about it, all the time, how they'd be like, folding up the tin foil, be like, don't you throw that away. So there is going to be generational lagging impact of this. We tend not to respond unless forced, and right now our hands are forced. And another funny trend is that the only thing harder to get than toilet paper right now is like herbs and gardening supplies from plant nurseries and stuff. Go out there and try to find a rosemary. That stuff is like the toilet paper of the nursery industry.
Really? Rosemary?
Really.
Oh, because people are doing like home gardening?
Home gardening, man. Look, I got a freaking plant. By the way, Zoom hack, put a plant behind you. It softens the entire thing. It makes you look less of a dump.
What is that? I thought that was like one of those Zoom backgrounds.
That was a Zoom background? No.
My Zoom background is I go out, I get the city behind me.
My hair is too weird for a Zoom background. It like fluffs up, and especially when I'm stressed, I like just send it straight up, and then it creates weird jag lines in the background.
Yeah. So actually, you talked about like lagging effects, greatest generation. I think that that's a really interesting concept. I hadn't thought of that. So, what's the word? Do you have any like data that you can send me on that, or like what that was that you were looking at?
Oh, absolutely. Right. Like you can look up a lot of that sort of behavior. But what I like best about this is actually, as far as like a heuristic, like you have anecdotal information of your parents telling stories about like what your parents told stories about.
Right.
But it's just a fundamental fact of the impacts of a generation going through austerity measures for a strong period of time. There's also like wilder stuff, like more biological, saying that like one of the reasons they say like certain generations live longer is because they went through like austerity measures between the ages of like 5 and 10, and so they lived longer because their body thought they were in a hostile environment and had to live in scarcity. Like there's like biological effects as well.
So what other than us giving money to the charities now and signing up for monthly giving, what maybe one more thing that we should all take to heart about what our favorite charities are going through and how we can help them?
Yeah,
is it just giving?
This may seem like a non sequitur, but please follow me. There's no cause and there's no charity that won't be better served by an accurate census count of underrepresented people. Are we cheering for healthcare workers?
Yeah, it's cheer time. Can you hear that?
Cheer o'clock? It's only 4 o'clock here. We cheered in about 3 hours. This is great.
7 o'clock. Can you hear that? I hope it comes through on the podcast.
I did. It was like cheering all of a sudden. That's great. That's great background.
But
anyway, what I was saying is the census.
It didn't come through. Census.
The freaking census. Like, it happens every 10 years, and it's happening right now, and it's being overshadowed. We only have about 51% of people, as I'm, saying this on whatever date it is when it's posted, but 422, reported. Why the census matters is because it controls where federal dollars are dispersed, and that matters right now quite a bit, and matters in the future. It matters where our legislative votes get assigned and the weight of different communities. It's disproportionately affecting also when you have suburban areas and underserved areas that sort of, let's say, for immigration purposes, don't want to count themselves. Well, they don't get the same services, same hospitals, same public services applied to those areas. So for all of those reasons, the voting power, the distribution of public services, like, you got to get an accurate census. So, like, be a little bit louder about census stuff in your backyard, because that's going to help long-term for the next decade as we lock in. The other thing for nonprofits that would help is the number one reason people give. The number one reason you open up your wallet and send money to a charity, statistically, if you look at everybody, is because somebody asked you.
Yep.
Somebody asked you. So I know you opened up something on your platform. I'm excited to hear how that's going, that you allow someone to sort of self-challenge and put out to your friends, being like, hey, sponsor my miles. Go ask your friends for small amounts of money and explain why you care about a cause. Just go and do that. Get that megaphone out there. Use some of the tactics that maybe we brought up here about the COVID adjacent communication, why this matters to you, but also why this matters now. I'll say that one more time. Whatever your organization or cause is, why this matters to you, and why this matters now in a time of COVID more than else. Explaining the urgency will get you that many more extra sort of friend donors in whatever pool you're going after.
That is a really good point. The number one. So, two really good points there. I just wanted the last one that you talked about. The number one reason that people give to charity is because they were asked. And I've really been thinking, you told me that, and I've just been trying to tell that to everybody, because so many times people are afraid to ask for donations. And they feel like they have to do a marathon, or they feel they have to do something crazy or extraordinary, shave their head, dump a bucket of ice over them. You don't have to do that. People aren't donating to you because you dumped a bucket of ice on your head or because you ran a marathon. They're donating because they care about you and because you asked. And that's all you have to do. All you have to do is say, I really care about this cause. I care about the arts. I care about Parkinson's. I care about it. And I would be grateful if you would make a donation, if you would sponsor me. And then the flip side to that, by the way, which I've also become obsessed with, is that you can also, if you are going to make that donation anyway, like all the people like we've been asking people to do, you can make the donation and you can just write the check, but you can do it in a way where you're having more leverage if you offer to sponsor someone else. If you go to someone and say, hey, I really care about Parkinson's, and if you'll walk for the Michael J. Fox Foundation, I'll sponsor you. And now the foundation is going to get not just your money, but they're going to get a new supporter, and they really need new supporters. And of course you can prepay your donation because you're going to make that donation anyway. But then you get your friend to get out and get involved with the foundation and develop a relationship with the work that they're doing so that they in turn care about the work that the Fox Foundation or whoever your I'll use the Fox Foundation as my example, but you know, whatever charity, you can fill in the blank with your charity.
Yeah.
All right.
How's
Also,
your how's the platform going?
census.
How are the charity? Yeah, the census stuff. I have to put it in every PSA I have available to me.
Well, actually, I want to touch on that for a second too, because I was thinking about that. I was thinking, you know, there's been a lot of mistakes that have been made in the last, 3 months or whatever, that didn't prepare us for this. But really, the mistakes were made a long time ago. And I think about the one marathon that I didn't finish was the Marin Headlands Marathon out by you. It was a very, very hilly course. And at the time when I finished, I just gave myself the excuse that it was a hilly course. But the reason that I failed, and the reason I didn't finish is because I didn't train. And I went into it unprepared. And I feel like we just came into this unprepared. You know, like we didn't adequately fund our healthcare system so that we could handle something like this. We didn't adequately care about our own health so that we were vulnerable. You know, so many of us were vulnerable to this with pre-existing conditions. So I feel like things like the census, that's what you're talking about. That's what we need to do to prepare ourselves so that we're not so vulnerable next time this comes around. You know, that's part of it. It's like we need to adequately fund our healthcare systems. We need to be smart about, you know, funding health and research, and we all just need to be healthier ourselves. But I think the census is a really good point so that we're trained the next time. You know, you can't have resilience in the moment if you didn't train for it. So we need to be ready for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a global inoculation. This could have been much worse. If you were to actually design something, this has all of the elements except for the sort of death rate of sort of incubation periods, having people that are asymptomatic, you know, the respiratory spread. It has all of the elements of something that could have been like absolutely cataclysmic in terms of its impacts if the death rate were higher. Now, the sad part about this is that what I see happening, Gene, is that going back to your marathon, I think a lot of people are physically and emotionally prepared for a sprint right now.
Right.
We're being given this deadline of like May 1st, by the end of the summer, when it gets warmer, you know, in the fall. I've been, I run a small business, right? Like I am fighting for every inch, every minute, every day, every dollar. Like that is my job right now. And I am paying attention to what hopefully I think are the smartest people out there, epidemiologists and economists. And the smartest people out there, I hear saying, no one is saying less than a year.
Right.
Nobody is saying less than a year. Anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together. And so what I would say for the nonprofits and the people here who are runners, who are in currently, you know, whatever situation, and what I told my team is to emotionally and physically prepare yourself for a marathon. And the gun just went off.
Right.
And so
that's a really good point.
What happens on a ship?
What
happens on a ship? Nothing ruins morale faster than a canceled shore leave. No shore leave at all, morale stays constant. A canceled shore leave. Hey, you get to go home for 4th of July. Actually no, we have to continue on. Nothing ruins morale faster than a canceled shore leave. So steel yourself, financially, physically, and mentally as an organization and as an individual and as a family and as a company right now would be some of the parting thoughts I want to give you in terms of you're we weren't prepared, and you know what, this is me saying consider that the sort of battle plan for what needs to come.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You got to be mentally prepared to go the distance and not know when the finish line is going to happen. There's nothing worse in a long race. Actually, another funny story that happened at me. Are you in Tahoe right now, or are you in San Francisco?
Ah, God, I wish I was in Tahoe. The crazy thing about Tahoe is that they don't have the hospital infrastructure to support all the second home families. And actually, although we're wildly safe in California, I am sitting in San Francisco, arguably the safest city in all of America right now, because we're sending our doctors over to New York to help out because we are dealing with, frankly, no manner of real emergency. It's just funny. I don't know.
So I did a race when I graduated law school. This is in 2004. I did the Lake Tahoe Triple Marathon, which was ran around the lake. It was a marathon a day for 3 days in a row.
Never do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, it was an experience for sure, but it was an unsupported race. Really, I didn't know this. I went out there. People have crews and stuff, and so on the my parents didn't want me to do it, so they came. They weren't going to come out, but then they came out on the second day, and I'm glad they did because I didn't have anybody to put water out on the course for me or anything. On the first day, I had somebody else from one of the other crews put out my water, and I gave my water to my parents. I asked them to put it at mile 15 and meet me at mile 15 with the water. And there's no mile markers on the course. So anyway, I see them on the course, and this before having a Garmin watch. So it's not like I had a Garmin watch to tell me how far I ran. So they have the water. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm making great time. This is the second day. So the hardest day is the second day. Because you're really far into it, but you're not really that close to finishing on the third day. And I get to mile 15. I get the water. I'm like, man, I'm making great time. It was at mile 11. So I think I'm doing great. I think I'm almost done, but I still have 4 more miles. The mental, the mind fuck that was for me, pardon my French. I think it was just so hard for me. So there's not, like you said, there's nothing worse than thinking that you're close to the end, but you're not. And I feel like that's a really good point. Just prepare yourselves for the long run.
You got a bunch of running geeks and walking geeks and athletes. So I'll share a similar story, albeit different distances, but emotionally, you'll feel in the same plane here.
Yeah.
I was running. I ran for UPenn cross country and track, and it was during the Penn Relays. I wasn't particularly talented, so they throw me in the longest race, which is the 10K. Basically, you run infinite laps around a track, 25 laps around a track, and so I'm out there. It's just too many laps around the track, right? Yeah. So I'm out there running, and it's an all-comers. So I'm out there with some horses, Olympic development people, and you end up getting lapped, which is demoralizing, right? But they have different lap counters for you, right? And so they're going around. I get lapped by somebody, and I'm looking at a lap counter, and I'm going around, and I'm and it's Penn Relays. My parents are there, and your team is there, and there's a bunch of people in the stands and stuff, and you're people are watching. So unlike an unwatched sort of die in misery kind of thing that you had, a lot of eyes out there. But I'm watching this lap counter go by, and I'm grinding it out. I'm all right, I finally come up to the last lap, and I just I drop the hammer. I'm all right, I'm gonna pass a few people here and just give a little bit of go. And so I'm just torching it on this last turn coming through. And I happened to notice that there's a different lap counter than I'd realized. And a guy pointing at me saying one more. And I am gassed. It's just gassed. And I realize it. And sort of my face goes from grinding out to hit to the finish to oh my God, the lactic acid is here. And I have to do one more lap. And my team just they're oh, we thought you were going to hammer for that last 800. And then you just hit a wall. It was I was dragging a truck in front of friends, family, and a full audience where I just every person I passed just we're what were you doing, you idiot?
Yep.
As I just
you gotta be
dragged
ready.
my sorry biscuits home.
You gotta be ready as if there's no finish line. And
could have used one about a lap early on that race. I'll say
I guess the good thing though, so with entrepreneurialism, people often say to me like, "Oh, it's like running a marathon, being a business owner," and I'm like, "No, being a business owner is not running a marathon because it's more like the Hunger Games."
Unless you have an exit,
right? Because
if you have an exit and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever.
Because there's no finish line, and in marathon, everybody's going in the same direction, and all you have to do is keep putting one foot in front of the other. But in business, like, you don't know which way you're supposed to go. It's like orienteering, like you're kind of lost in the woods and you got to figure it out. But at least with this, everybody is going in the same direction. We are all kind of doing this together, and we don't know when the finish line is going to be, but we're all kind of on the same road here.
Yeah,
so,
nothing unites like a common enemy. I think the positive externality is a sort of global awareness, and ultimately one thing that I kind of stuck in my mind is the fact that certain language is going to stay with us. And I want you to consider how the phrase "How are you doing?" means something different today than it did a year ago.
Yeah, it really means something. It's not just like something that you throw in there now.
No, how are you doing? And I really like that, actually.
Yeah. I also kind of like now, like on all of my calls, like people I've never spoken to before, they genuinely were like, "So how are you?" Like, I have a new call with somebody, just about every 30 minutes these days with a different, charity or a different company. And it's like, before like jumping into the business, people are genuinely kind of like check in on each other, which is really nice. It's really nice. It's one of these things. I hope there's a lot that I hope doesn't go back to normal when this is done. And that's one of the things I hope doesn't go back to normal. All right. Well, a couple good key takeaways from my man, George there. Smartest man I know in the charity world. Probably one of the smartest people I know overall. So thanks for sharing that with us. And for that rosy and optimistic outlook. But no, realistic outlook is the best. And I think that there's a lot in there that we need to all prepare ourselves for. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I gave you some carbon emissions are down. Go out there and support a charity. Go out there and use charity miles and challenge somebody. Go get someone to walk around. And don't forget that face mask, right, Gene? If you're getting close to 6 feet.
I got it in my pocket. I'm keeping an eye. People might see in the video. Like, I'm looking to make sure that I don't get close to anybody. I got my face mask.
He's being safe. He's being safe.
And do the census.
Do the census. Census.gov. Census. Go do it.
All right, George.
2020. All right, buddy. Stay safe.
Thanks a lot. Every mile matters.